Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Nihongo Master podcast. I'm your host Azra and I've got a good one in store for you today. It's going to be all about Japanese tunes and beats. A country like Japan with such a long and rich history has got to have an equally rich music background. It's an integral component in most cultures, and true enough, the oldest forms of traditional Japanese music date back to the 6th century. Over the decades, music has taken over this island nation. In fact, Japan has the second largest music market in the world and was at one point the largest physical music market worldwide. If that's not proof of music's influence in the country, I don't know what is. Anyway, music in Japan has more than a few categories, and covering them all would take ages. So I've shortlisted to 3 categories to sum up the music scene in Japan perfectly. Traditional Japanese music, JPop, and video game music. Now go grab your headphones, pop them on, and get ready for a melodic ride of Japan's tunes and beats. We'll start off with our very first category, traditional Japanese music. In Japanese, this is known as hogaku, to mean home, country music. The term is the opposite of yogaku, referring to Western music. It was back in the Nara period of 710 to 794 and Heian period of 794 to 1185 when the two oldest forms of Japanese traditional music first popped up, shomyo and gagaku. Shomyo, a combination of kanji characters for voice and wisdom, is a style of vocal music practiced during Buddhist rituals. It's believed to have originated from India before making its way to Japan in the 6th century, and to this day, this oldest living form of vocal music is still being practiced. Here's a short clip of this Buddhist ritual chant. The other oldest traditional music, gagaku, refers to court music. Translated to elegant music, is the fusion of various continental Asian countries' music with traditional Japanese music. Back in the day, if you were merely a commoner, you probably would never hear gagaku, as it was exclusively the music of the imperial court. A typical gagaku ensemble consists of traditional Japanese instruments split into 3 divisions: woodwinds, percussion, and strings. Let's have a quick listen of this ancient court music. Okay, while not really classified under traditional Japanese music and more of Japanese popular music, this genre has to be mentioned. Fast forward a few centuries to the Meiji period and you get songs that promote political activism known as enka. Translating to performance song, this ballad-style genre that echoes the melodies of American blues is known to stylistically resemble traditional Japanese music. Its second wave hit after the war during the Showa era and evolved to carry a nostalgic tone of Japan's national identity. Ask any granny and granddad on the streets of Japan. Chances are they still listen to enka to this day. Have a listen of a typical enka song. The two old forms of traditional Japanese music and the Japanese nostalgic ballad all have significant tunes, varying greatly from one another. It just goes to show how diverse Japan's music scene during the early days. Here's a quick vocab recap of traditional Japanese music. Hogaku, home or country music, referring to local Japanese tunes. Yogaku, Western music. Shomyo, chanting vocal music practiced during Buddhist rituals. Gagaku, court music. Enka, a ballad-style Japanese music genre that was originally a form of political activism but has evolved to become a nostalgic tune of the nation's identity. Our next category is arguably the most famous one on the list, and that's J-pop. While K-pop has been taking the world by storm recently, J-pop is also winning over the hearts of Japanese people, specifically the youth. The older generation has enka, the youngins have J-pop. While J-pop ongaku, music, has traditional Japanese music influences, the genre has its roots in 1960s music as well as Western pop and rock, prominently bands like the Beatles and the Beach Boys. Eventually, J-pop replaced kayo-kyoku, a term used up till the 1980s to refer to Japanese pop music. Have a listen to kayo-kyoku. Even though this genre is an abbreviation for Japanese pop, it doesn't necessarily mean that every song in this category is pop music. It's a term to refer to mainstream Japanese music, kind of like the top 100 charts. I guess the pop in J-pop can also refer to popular, can't it? Today, J-pop can be everything from pop and rock to hip-hop and R&B. J-pop nowadays has been taken over by idol groups. There are so many of them that there's even a term to refer to this current age of overwhelming idol groups. Idoru Sengoku Jidai, which literally means the age of idol war. Japanese idols are professional entertainers, and while they're primarily kashu, singers, they often take on other roles like modeling, acting, and dancing. I'd say almost every Japanese person would know girl group AKB48 and boy band Arashi. They're constantly topping the singles chart every year. Here's a sample of the current J-pop that every Japanese youth knows and loves. Can you hear the difference? A lot more upbeat and quite poppy in modern J-pop, don't you think? If you've ever watched anime, Japanese animation, chances are the music that you listen to during the intro and outro is J-pop, and idol groups are usually the ones singing them. Let's look at the vocab from J-pop music. Ongaku, music. Kayokyoku, a term for Japanese pop music used up until the 1980s. Idoru, idol. Kashu, singer. By the way, if you haven't checked out our official website yet, why not give it a browse? At Nihongo Master, we offer efficient Japanese lessons that are quick, easy, and fun for Japanese language learners of all levels, from beginners to advanced. Our smart tools will assist you in areas where you need a little bit of a push and congratulate you on the ones you've aced. With a community of over 50,000 Japanese students, you're not alone on your learning journey. Make new friends and improve together with our point system, collecting points as you go along. Ask away any questions you have on our group discussion pages. There's sure to be others as well as our Japanese instructors that are quick to answer. You can also take Nihongo Master with you on the go and learn Japanese as you trot the globe. Practical, right? Our last category is one some of you would recognize: video game music. If you've listened to one of our previous episodes, Pixels and Power-Ups, or if you're a video game enthusiast yourself, you'd know that Japan is pretty much number one when it comes to video games. Before video games had music to accompany it, they had chiptune, which is a kind of synthesized electronic tunes that's made using sound generators or synthesizers. If you've ever owned those vintage game consoles or played old arcade game, Japanese for arcade game, machines before, you're probably familiar with this tune. If not, here's a clip of chiptune. As technology evolved, so did music in video games, and Japanese video game developers are the first few to get a jump on it. Don't we all know Pac-Man? Arguably the most popular video game of all time, this Namco-produced franchise consists of more than a couple of tunes that we'll recognize instantly as soon as it's being played. The company Namco went on to produce music for various other video games, and so began the era of video game music. Namco's Maze, or Meru in Japanese, and driving game Rally X was actually the first video game to have continuous music being played in the background. Fast forward to where we're at now, and video game music has evolved tremendously. For all the various types of games, there are beats and tunes that match the gameplay, reacting to the player's movements and action, with seamless transitioning from one music to another. Have a listen to what video game music has become now. Oh, how times have changed. We went from simple beats to continuous perfect melodies with zero disruption in tune. While the original simple synthesizer tunes are still common to use nowadays, isn't it great that the world of video game music has expanded to allow creative expressions that enhance gamers' experience? I know it has for me. Let's quickly recap the vocab of video game music. Arcade, arcade. Game, game. Meiro, maze. Action, action. If you realize, a lot of the words are just the katakana form of the English words. And that's just it. A lot of the time, you'll see the words in katakana in Japanese video games. If you want to know more video game related vocabulary, give our Pixel and Power Up episode, episode 8, a listen. And there you have it, a quick roundup of the top categories of Japanese tunes and beats, from traditional Japanese music of shōmyō and gagaku to modern-day J-pop and video game music. While music in Japan is a lot more than just the genres we looked at, it's a pretty good start to your Nihon Ongaku journey. If you want to know more about the other areas of Japanese music, head over to the Nihongo Master blog to read up on them. And if you're keen on picking up some more Japanese for yourself, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and the official website to learn more. Oh, and when you're planning your next trip to Japan, consider going on a camping trip. And Overland Japan can provide you with everything from their fully equipped camper vans to the perfect camping itinerary. Head over to overlandjapan.com or find them on your Instagram handle, Overland Japan. Thank you so much for listening in. Join me in the next one where I'll be walking you down another avenue of Japan's rich culture. Mata ne!